Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your night to join me. I really appreciate it. If you're catching this video in the future, or it some time around that it's been posted, that's awesome, good. You're well ahead of everyone else who typically doesn't, find some of these videos till weeks later, sometimes a month later. If you're watching this video at the end of November, I hope that the rest of the Scorpio sign went well, and I hope Thanksgiving was good for you. We're still not, in fact, past Halloween, but tonight I want to talk about, and I'll highlight some resource information, link in the description below. It'll be to a text-based article because there really isn't that much yet on it, on YouTube at least, and or anywhere. I've seen a couple of videos, but recently the FDC, or the FCC, I'm sorry, the Federal Communications Center, they went ahead and fined Lyft for misleading customers, for misleading drivers, new drivers that signed up to the platform that were promised incentives that were never fulfilled on behalf of the driver from Lyft in particular. And so I want to talk tonight about ride sharing, and I've said this for a long time. I don't think there's really any question as to its validity, at least in practice. Moreover, not just theory, but how the real world, IRL, is going to be in just a handful of years. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that there was once a service that you could, in fact, share with a ride. It was called a taxi cab. And I'm 37. I've been to big cities. Anytime I'm in a big city, how convenient is that? How convenient did people in the past have it? You didn't even need a cell phone, right? You just walked to the corner of the street, you waved your hand up in the air, and just like magic, someone would come pick you up immediately, almost instantaneously. This is really the peak of modern convenience. I don't really care what anyone says. There's no rideshare service ever that can offer that same kind of direct-to-consumer benefit as well as company benefit, because a lot of these guys all over the country did have a lock on taxi cab services, and furthermore, down on the western part of the country, or west of Mississippi River, there's really not been that much development within the infrastructure of any major city as it relates to alternative transportation. I think, Washington could be a good example, places in Washington, Seattle, namely, maybe Portland, Oregon, parts of California, but there's not really been any effort to push mass transit as it is in the East Coast. Maybe I've just described a scenario that could only be found on the East Coast. I know I spent a lot of time out in New York City as a young person, and that was an incredible service to have. I had a BlackBerry in my pocket. I never lifted it up once out of my pocket to hail a cab, not to mention that the fares were posted on the door, and it was just unparalleled as it really concerned getting around without a car and not choosing to use a trolley, a bus, a subway, or anything else like that. There's just some real cool conveniences that one can be provided if the rideshare service is solid. And ask any millions of people that have spent time on the East Coast or that live out there. Again, there was a reason why the rideshare services weren't essentially welcomed at first in larger cities, and that was because, why mess something up that already works well, right? If you already are able to hail a cab, then what really need is there for a rideshare service other than you can hail a ride and you don't have to be on the street corner or whatever. Regardless, it's interesting to note that, like, about 15 years into this project, and going back in time about 15 years, I think other people, like pizza places, and I've made this argument before too, hadn't yet streamlined food delivery because there's really not money in food delivery for anybody. And while there's money for the restaurant suffers from things that are out of their control. Mess ups on the order, sometimes not picking up the order in time, not finding a person's house. But quality is what I'm talking about, right? So, moreover, the majority of all business owners in this country decided, especially pizza places, that delivery did not provide the kind of surplus income that it would require to offset the potential losses in the quality area. I mean, typically when somebody comes into your restaurant, they eat the food fresh. They remember from that perspective. They come back in. They expect the same kind of thing. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a huge difference of takeout when you get takeout from Red Lobster to when you're actually in the restaurant. And that's coming from a desert boy who's never been to Red Lobster but has delivered enough Red Lobster to people in the desert to understand that it's just not the same. And again, I don't go out and buy seafood or any of these things. I'm a local boy in that way. I didn't grow up eating fish, so I'm just using that as an example in the quality loss area. Now, the FCC presenting so many different fines to Lyft for misleading its drivers is something that I hope is a precedent moving forward for all of the rideshare services that continue to employ human beings, because we are at a point, and that goes over to what I had begun this particular impromptu talk about. And from the very beginning, this was not a human being centric thought. I mean, the guys who thought of these particular rideshare services and food delivery services understood that there had to be a point in the very near future where labor could essentially be nothing. And that's, I guess, a better way to make money. Sure, having a bunch of automated cars out on the road, picking up food and taking it to people, or picking up people and taking them places, that is in fact a net positive in the rideshare arena for sure. You do not want people driving around other people. That's just because other people's time is so much more valuable than there can be a price placed on, right? Unless it makes sense and you're in a big city and it's a densely populated place and a cab driver can roam around 12 city blocks and make a couple $100 in a few hours. I mean, ideally, that's what would benefit both the customer and the driver. So like, as it already was, we will find zero benefits in any rideshare platform unless they're not driven by a human being. And it's interesting because we're not very far from that. And while cool precedents are being set by the FCC in the way that they've set fines, especially in this case to Lyft, but it's really not going to matter. I mean, hopefully in their eyes, a handful of years will go by and we won't need to even discuss the cost of human capital and the unfairness of salary and wages paid out to people who provide these services, because simply put, that will not be a part of the conversation. And I think a lot of these companies don't want it to be a part of the conversation, so they're pushing back the conversation as long as possible until in fact it is most appropriate to bring up the fact that we don't need to pay robots anything, and from the benefit of your home as a Tesla car owner, you can get your car to work for you. I mean, there's Ponzi schemes and then there's Elon Musk. I mean, at this point, seriously, I'm more of a Jeff Bezos fan myself. At least the guy is responsible for inventing a service that we all actually use every single day, even passively sometimes. But there's nobody in middle America that is filthy rich or owns. I've yet to see a household own multiple Teslas. I'm sure that's a flex for all you rich folks out there who have 2 or 3 Teslas or something. I mean, you own cars that you will actually never own. So congratulations. You've supported the free market in the weirdest way possible by purchasing a product that doesn't ever really belong to you. So I guess if we all want to spend money on things that don't belong to us so that hopefully one day we can break even, all while we've already paid the large sum of money to get that product, and the person in charge of selling us that product is similar to the mob, right? In that he wants a little bit of everything, only unlike the mob, he's unwilling to do any actual work for it, which is why places like the mob have been successful since people have been around. I mean, you know, they're pro people. So I'm just saying that if we are going to emulate our business practices off of a historically successful operation, then we ought to really model it after that operation, right? In that it's called paying tribute, you know? We got to break bread, you know, not do so much taking as we do giving. I mean, it's all part of the code. If you know, you know. If you don't, I guess your name is Elon Musk and you have multiple citizenships. You're the richest man in the world. You're from Africa. You happen to be white. And you raise a whole lot of heck here in America. And I just want to point out that you're not even from here. So I'm just saying, I welcome. Let's not go there. I'm about open borders. Listen, Elon Musk is just as welcome over here as any of the other hundreds of millions of people all over the world that want to share this lovely space here in the high desert. I mean, come on over to Albuquerque. It's cool. Anyways, I hope that you guys, and it's cool, literally, like the weather's all right. Honestly, between the two of us, it's becoming gentrified, and I don't think you can find a single family house in this area for anything less than $400,000. So, maybe think about that before you come on down, because even those of us that have been here hundreds of years are having a lot of difficulty maintaining our home because it's just getting a little expensive. So anyways, I hope that you guys have a really good night. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. Like your time, your life, you know, and my battery's going dead, so my mind is going elsewhere. Until next time, bye.